Video shows the dramatic rise of the floodwaters on Friday. You can see the water swelling rapidly in this time lapse here. In some places, that water rose more than 20 feet in just 1 hour. And now there are new questions on whether people in that area had sufficient warning to prepare for these deadly conditions. Senior national weather correspondent Rob Marciano joins us. And Rob, we've been following the Trump administration's cuts to the National Weather Service. Is it too early to tell at this point if that had an impact on what happened here?
We possibly had an impact, but as far as what was staffed at the time of this event, they were actually overstaffed. So that's nice to hear, right? Because they typically, during an overnight shift, there would be 2 forecasters or 2 staffers on duty. They actually staffed this weather office with 5. But there are some managerial positions that have been vacant since the DOGE cuts, including a warning coordination meteorologist, and that's the person that actually talks to some of the officials and tells them ahead of time, hey, we got to be looking out for potentially for seeing some flooding tonight. So, but as far as the forecast goes, they predicted 5 to 7 inches of rainfall. Any meteorologist will tell you that was a pretty good forecast. Nobody thought that we would get 12 inches of rainfall. We got it in such a short period of time. And that was really the blow that led to what we had.
Yeah, can we talk a little bit more about how exactly this happened? It seemed to come out of nowhere.
We only had about a slight chance of seeing a flash flood as we were heading into the holiday weekend. But what was left of Tropical Storm Barry, which hit Mexico almost over a week ago, that moisture came up and into Texas, and that was kind of triggered by another little mid to upper level disturbance that was also creating some lift. And the thunderstorms just piled on and stayed over the same area for hours at a time. So between that and the terrain of that area, it's known to have some flash flooding, and the drought that they were in, that all that water just ran down into those river valleys, and they rose quickly. But it was really the timing and the when it came and the absolute velocity of which that water came down is what did the trick there, unfortunately.
And Rob, as we've been saying, there's been a huge conversation about what people knew and when. Can you talk to us a little bit about that timeline and dive into that a little bit more of when people actually found out about this flooding and when the floods started? And
I guess the bigger question is, when did the local authorities know, and maybe make that message a little bit more clear? The problem is this happened late at night. The National Weather Service raised the flag on Thursday afternoon. They put weather balloons up. That wasn't understaffed. And they measured an amount of moisture in the atmosphere that was alarming. So they said, we got to put a flash flood watch up. They did at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then later that night, the rain started to come. And the first warning came at about 1 a.m. for a flash flood warning. And then subsequent warnings started coming later in the evening. We get a flash flood emergency, which means basically they're urging people to get to higher ground. The water's coming, the rivers are rising, and that was 4 o'clock in the morning and 5 o'clock in the morning. So this is in the dead of night, and in some cases in the middle of the wilderness, when these camps may or may not have had the weather radios they needed or cell signal that would get them those warnings. So kind of a perfect storm here as far as getting the message out to these people. Do you evacuate all these kids, all these people that are celebrating the holiday weekend beforehand, and maybe nothing happens? This happened, and it happened in the middle of the night, and that's what did it.
And hindsight is always 20/20 as well.
Exactly. It's so tragic, and it's so frustrating as a meteorologist. If there's one thing that we're struggling with, especially with climate change happening, are these extreme rain events. They seem to be piling up over the past 10 years. It's getting tough.
Well, we appreciate your insight as always. Rob Marciano, thank you very much.
You got it, Nancy.